All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to class. This is the last class with me, so I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thanks. I have enjoyed it, and I hope it's worked out for you as best as it possibly can. I feel like we made this transition pretty well, but if you ever want to reach out in the future, please do. You've got my email, and yeah, good luck with the rest of the semester. All right, so now let's just talk a little bit about some announcements. First off, Professor DeCesar is returning on Wednesday. Friday, there's a literature discussion. Make sure you check my courses for that. It is the questions and the article have been posted. And keep up with the online discussion. Next Monday, there's Quiz 9 for Chapter 27. And again, make sure you keep up with your online discussion. All right, so today we're going to continue talking about populations. We've got these four different learning objectives, and most importantly, today we're going to continue thinking about how ecologists measure the size of populations and what the benefits and limits are to the different methods that are used. Before we get into that today, I think we need to go on a little field trip. So bear with me. All right, let's head back inside. Okay, thanks for going on that little trip with me. So we just went out to Mendon Ponds, a park here in Rochester that is about 15 minutes away from RIT. And one of the things that's really cool about Mendon Ponds is that it has all these really neat glacial features. You can see the topography, and what that's done is it's formed these really neat lakes and ponds, kettle ponds, where there were melting blocks of ice that kind of left these depressions. You can see them all over. In the springtime, they become filled with water. Some of them are filled with water all year, but they definitely become wetter and larger, and they're an important habitat for amphibians. Vernal pools are ponds that come in the spring during the wet season and then dry up. And one of the interesting things about vernal pools is that they don't have any fish usually, so they're a good place for salamanders and frogs and toads to lay their eggs. And if you go to a vernal pool in the spring, you can hear all these really cool sounds as the frogs call out to each other. But one of the reasons that we went out there is I wanted to think about if you wanted to figure out what the population of frogs were in one of those pools, how would you do that, right? And if you wanted to figure out a little bit more, maybe ask some questions like this paper does of, does the habitat clustering affect community diversity and dynamics? So does it matter? In the textbook, it actually talks a little bit about, there's a whole section on, is isolation good for a species or not? And this paper went into that related to vernal pools, and it was really interesting. You can go find this paper on your own, but they found that you got more diversity if you got pools clustered together rather than individual pools that were isolated. But I want to go back to that idea and the question of, how might you study the population of frogs? How would you figure out how many frogs were in that pool that we were listening to out in Mendon Ponds? So today you're going to do an activity that simulates a mark recapture method. And this is one I really like because it's really simple, but you can get good data from it. So the way the mark recapture works is essentially you sample the population, you mark each of the individuals that you sample, you release them back into the population, and then you come back at another time, and you select a certain number of individuals and you find the ratio of individuals that you have recaptured to the individuals that are new, and this will help you figure out the population size. So today you are going to use a particular example, the Blarina brevicoda, or I gotta double check here. The shrew, right? All right, good. That is a shrew. Thought it might be a bull for a second. Just double checking. No, the shrew is on campus. All right, and so I'm just gonna switch over here to the actual assignment, right? And so there are a couple different things that I want to bring up before you get this started. Normally in class you would use beans to simulate the population of shrews. Today you're going to use whatever you have at your house. So if you've got beans, you can use beans. If you've got some poker chips, I like little pieces of paper. You're going to need some sort of marker or tape for marking the individuals, and some sort of bag or box or something to represent the environment, right? So this has all of the instructions on it. One of the things I also want to point out is that for the Lincoln Index, this is the estimated population size. You have to think about whether or not the assumptions of the model are being met, right? So number one is that the population is closed. So there's no immigration or emigration. So in our example of our frogs, if we wanted to get an accurate count of the population, we need to make sure that frogs aren't jumping between the different pools, right? This time between samples must be short compared to the lifespan of the organism, right? So if you have too large of a gap, you can have new organisms that have been born, and that's going to disrupt your data. And then this part here, that they must mix completely with the population during your sampling, so they can't stay clustered together. And this is a hard thing to make sure is true, but those are the assumptions, right? So the directions are here. There's a chart for you to fill in. If you have any questions, please let me know. But at the end, you're asked to think about the advantages and disadvantages of using the mark recapture method. And I just want to go back to these questions again that Professor DeCesar set up that I think are important ones, right? So we've done 3 different methods. We did the quadrat sampling, we did a visual estimate. Sometimes with the frogs, they'll use an audio estimate, and asks you to think about how accurate each method was, and how accurate you need to be, and thinking about what are the purposes of understanding the size of a population, right? And how important is it that you have a very accurate estimate, right? So good luck with this. If you have any questions, please let me know. But look forward to seeing you all around campus next fall. And yeah, have a good day.